Hi guys, Erin here at Queen Bee Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. We made it. It's the weekend. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hopefully you have a break. If today is not your weekend, hopefully it's coming up soon. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Mars, which is going retrograde in a little bit here, just at the beginning of September. And Mars is the planet of ego, will, drive, energy, how we direct ourselves out into the world, how we push to accomplish things, how we deal with conflict, how we deal with challenges, that sort of thing. And the reason that Mars is really, really important in this whole situation that's coming up is because how we direct ourselves out there in the world is a huge part of who we are. And most of the time, we don't even really think about it. We just are who we are. We do what we do. And this whole year has been a big head scratcher. It's been a big thinker. It's caused all of us to kind of rethink whether or not our careers, our lives, our countries are sustainable, if we're on the right path, if we're doing the right thing, if things are going to work out in the future. It's been a whole time of questioning. And so what happened was, as our will and our drive is going out there in the world on our merry way and we're living our lives, and then what happened in the beginning of the year was this Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction, where all of a sudden all the structures that we were used to, all the ways that we were used to expanding our minds or traveling, Jupiter is all about travel, and then Pluto is forces outside of our control. It was like this whole party came together and went, wait a minute, full stop on life. The structures we have are not sustainable. The forces outside of our control are becoming too much for most people. Most people's lives are not sustainable. Our ability to travel is now being hindered because there's this disease going around the whole world. And so all of us were forced to sit at home, essentially, except for frontline workers. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you guys have been putting in throughout this crisis. For pretty much everybody ever, our lives were affected. Not a single person out there wasn't affected by what happened. But what we can find is a common thread. And the common thread throughout all of this situation is, are our lives sustainable? Are we putting our energy, are we putting our ego and our drive and our will into things that are going to be sustainable in the long run? Like, for example, capitalism depends on perpetual, predictable growth, but natural resources are finite. People's buying power is finite. Capitalism is not sustainable, especially not the way everything has been built as it is, with the CEOs getting millions, the workers getting nothing. We've got this huge wage gap, poverty, the distance between the people who have and the people who have not is so huge at this point that there's basically no coming back unless we have a Tower card. So the Tower card is all about when things completely blow up and fall apart, and sometimes it's for the better. And in the beginning of the year, with the conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, we've got this total everything falling down, because we have created a world that is not sustainable. And then the personal effect of this grand scheme of things, because Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are all outside planets. So that's kind of like a collective energy. It influences all of us, right? But the inner planets, we've got Mercury, Saturn, Mars. Those are, and Venus, sorry. The inner planets, I didn't mean to say Saturn. Mercury, Venus, and Mars are our inner planets. And those are the ones that become more personally affected, right? And the thing that wasn't really talked about is at the same time in the beginning of the year that we had this huge conjunction between Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, Mars was right there. And so throughout this whole shakeup, the whole common thread keeps coming back to, how do we direct our energy in the world? Is our energy being directed in a positive way, a respectful way, or a sustainable way? So all these things were brought into question. And no matter what, your life was affected. And over the past 6 months, I'd bet money that you called into question pretty much every decision you've ever made. Where you're living, what kind of job you're living, how you're directing your energy. So during this huge time of questioning, a lot of people are feeling like, let's tear it all down. Every choice I've ever made. But then with that comes the feeling of being lost. There's a lot of different spiritual philosophies out there, and some of them call for total surrender. Just surrender to what life has. But then there's no will and no drive and no ego, and that's part of who we are as humans. And then there's another spiritual way of looking at things where people believe that if you just have the right mindset, you can manifest anything. But honestly, that's total ego and not enough listening. So what I wanted to present to you guys is the Temperance card. And the Temperance card is all about balance. She's doing her yoga, but please do notice that on one side she's got her cupcakes, and on the other side she's got her greens and her carrots and her healthy stuff. She's got one eye open, one eye closed, showing paying attention to what's happening on the inside and paying attention to what's happening on the outside. So what I would like to hint at is that all of this stuff tied into Mars is having us question whether or not we are living in balance. So in balance means not completely destroying the environment in the name of profit, right? Balance means giving enough energy to my job, to my career, that it's going to pay off and take care of me in the long run. But at the same time, I need time off. I need time for my family. I need time for me. So all these things, rather than just completely doing a total teardown, I urge you to find temperance in your life. So find that balance. Allow yourself the cupcakes, but also have the carrots. Allow yourself to have rest, but also times of peak. The whole concept of capitalism also depends on all the workers being at 100% all the time. How many of you out there never get to take a sick day in normal life before COVID because sick days aren't allowed? You're expected to have top productivity and stuff like that. But in the end, that's going to make you sick because you didn't get a break, right? So urging temperance. What's happening is Mars made this conjunction with all those guys in the beginning of the year. So what we knew from the get-go was that all this collapse had both to do with our outer world, but also our inner world. And then Mars goes a lot faster than those slow-moving planets. So those slow-moving planets are still sitting in Capricorn. They haven't moved very far. Mars, on the other hand, has gone a whole 90 degrees around the chart. And now we have a square. So when we have a total 90-degree angle between planets, that's called a square. And it represents a challenge. So right now, basically, I wrote this down. From August to early October. So from basically now to early October, Mars is going to be engaged in a square with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And what that means is that as we seek to create new structures and find new ways of being abundant and prosperous and find new ways of dealing with whatever darkness is within or power struggles we might be struggling with, that's concepts of Pluto, all these things are going to be challenged by our ability to move. So as we've made all these reflections over the past 6 months and we've come to some new realizations, we're going to find that we still can't move. Lo and behold, got a second wave coming here, or in the United States, an extended first wave. So our ability to move, even though it felt like maybe there was a little bit of relief and people could start getting out there and doing stuff, nope, lockdown's coming again. And basically the reason that I would say that with absolute surety is because Mars is going into retrograde in the beginning of September. And so what we're going to have is we're going to have this time where we're basically being forced to reconsider all these things that we've been thinking about. How do I want to direct my will out there in the world to create a structure, Saturn, that is sustainable? How do I want to direct my will out there in the world to create abundance, Jupiter, that is not too abundant, that's recognizing that I don't need to have the millions, I just need enough to pay my bills and spend time with my family, right? So reconsidering those choices. And then the other thing that's coming into mind is we've got the American elections coming up, and Trump is totally screwing with the Postal Service, trying to rig the elections. And so we got Pluto. And Pluto is all about those forces that are outside of our control. Sometimes, just like in a horrible, movie where there's this really, really, really bad guy and you just want to punch him and he keeps doing these things to screw over the good people of the country. We've got the situation right now, folks. So I urge you, whatever it takes, Register to vote with your ballot online so that you don't have to worry about mailing it in. Make sure you have a polling place close by. Find a really rich, white, affluent neighborhood and mail your ballot in from there. We have got to get this guy out of office, right? And so that's the thing. At this point in the middle of the year, most people are feeling exhausted. This is exhausting. This COVID thing, this not being able to work thing, the political BS happening right now, it's exhausting. And so what is happening right now is a lot of people feel like giving up. A lot of people feel like it's just too much. Please, please, please don't give up, you guys. Please don't give up. The challenge between Mars square Saturn is all about sustained effort. Nothing was ever built in a day. Problems were not solved in the blink of an eye. This situation that we're in took a lot of time to get here, and it's going to take a lot of time to get out of it. Sustained effort in the direction of honor, respect, and positive growth. These things are really, really, really important. So if there is no joy in life, there is no future. So focus on the joy. Focus on what is filling your cup and think about what is a reasonable, sustained amount of growth that I can commit to. Register to vote. Help your friends get out and register to vote. And if you know somebody who's going to have issues getting to the election, help get them out there. Do whatever you can to unite your community so that we all grow together. Don't give up, you guys. Mars square Saturn is a challenge, but we can get through this. Sending so much love to you guys. If you have any questions about the current astrology, hit me up, send a message, make a comment on the video below, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. This is Erin at Queen Bee Tarot.